going to be streaming with me on Streaming with Friends. How are things going, mate? How are you handling this COVID crisis?
I'd say pretty well. I mean, it's a weird time, right? I guess everyone's going through the same situation right now, and it's very unusual because I guess so much of my life is basketball, being around friends, competing, and so on, and that's all been taken away at the moment. You can't even find a ring to go shoot on, so it's definitely difficult in that from that regard. But I'm pretty lucky. I've got my 6 month old at home with my partner, and having a bit of fun with them and the dog. So it's been not too bad, but I struggle to see me lasting months and months without playing basketball.
Yeah. So I've got a similar situation with athletes that I coach. So they're all doing it pretty hard at the moment, and they're putting. I don't know if you've seen they're tying up the nets and the putting things over the rings in the parks. Have you seen that?
I seen something in the States about them actually pulling rings off.
Yeah.
That's fair dedication, not letting people shoot, right?
Yeah, so that's the idea of it. Whether that works, I wish I had a ring now because I actually go down the local park sometimes and shoot. So it's one of those things. So what are you doing with yourself at the moment, given that you're not having the flexibility? I saw D Ruck interview you on or do a little bit of a connection on live stream on Insta earlier. So you're at the physio. So what have you been keeping yourself busy with other than your baby boy?
Just, I mean, it's a weird one, right? Because we finished 6 weeks ago. So if I had have known that we wouldn't have been able to do anything, I probably would have just pushed on after the season and taken a break now. But I stopped thinking I was going to start NBL one and all this stuff. So I kind of had my break, was just starting to get going again, and now we're all off. So I've just been running a lot. I've got a Hungarian Vissla, which is a pretty athletic dog. So
Hmm.
could be one of the fittest dogs getting around Brisbane at the moment with the amount me and my partner have been running with him. But just running, doing some band stuff around the house, and just trying to occupy myself as best as possible.
Yeah, no, it's good. You that everyone's running at the moment. If you ask anyone that if they're trying to get some fitness in, it seems to be the main thing everyone's doing. There's more people I see out on the street than normal when they're trying to keep us all indoors. So it's amazing how many people have got fit. All the fitness has become a thing to get
I'm
out.
interested to see how long it lasts though, because after a while of running, people are going to start just hanging out on the couch watching movies and eating lollies.
Yeah, so I saw Dre today, Andre Lamanis, the Bullet shared a video of him saying that, clubs that take advantage of this opportunity to work on their game, they believe will hit the ground running. So have you had much from the club direction on what they want you to be doing at the moment, or is it still, are you still actually having more or less a break?
We've had little bits, but the club can't really, with what's going on and the rules that have been put in place for everyone, that the club can't really tell us to do anything because it's kind of them going against everything. So
Hmm.
it's kind of on us to find our own thing. We've got little programs and things that they've tried to help us, just I guess the landscape of what you can do and what's good for you, and just things to try and do. But it's so far outside what we normally do that there's no real guideline of what to do just because everyone's so used to how it works, and it's the complete opposite of that now. So they've tried to help as much as they can, but really there's only so much they can do.
Yeah, so just to people who are joining us, there's some people joining inside the stream now. So what I'd encourage them to do at some stage, we'll go to the chat and we'll take questions for Jason, who's joining us here on Streaming with Friends tonight, and we'll look to that. So if you have any questions, make sure you comment in the live stream. Also, feel free if you want to share the stream. Got Matt Horn joined us. He's actually from on off the bench, I think, off the bench basketball, one of the academies north side of Brisbane. So he's saying g'day to you. So I don't know if you are you seeing these chats at all or not? You're
I
not on
see
the.
little bits and pieces coming through now. I just seen it then on my I got my phone here with this chat set up.
Nice. So,
Seen Brent McGrath. He's a guy I went to school with actually. We could get a few interesting questions here. I seen Cameron Glidden join as well, so
yeah,
it
yeah.
could get a few stupid questions through.
Well, that's the idea of it, mate. So what I'll do is I'll throw from time to time. I'll ask you to look at your questions. Something last week on the live stream, what happened was people were sending me questions, and I got multiple tabs open, and they're on different streams. So I'm streaming to like I think three Facebook pages. So Oz Swoosh, People with a Passion, and my personal page, and I'm also streaming to YouTube and Twitter. So up on Periscope. So I have all these tabs, and people are on different chats saying, "Hey, tell Craig to look at the questions. What I would say to my friends, actually, this is a good way to do it, is Jason and I have phones. The volume is down, but if you do have a question and you've got us as a personal chat, or you can DM us. Might be easier sometimes to DM the question if we haven't seen it in the chat, but by all means, take your chance to actually, to check that out. So let's talk about 2019, 2020, mate. Big 12 months for you. A lot happened this last 12 months. It's been pretty amazing for you.
Yeah, pretty busy. Obviously the highlight of that was having my little man. But then on the back of that, just I guess I settled into Brisbane a bit more in the off season. It was a pretty big move for me leaving Sydney. Probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make for my professional career, to leave home and a place I was very comfortable. And I think I probably undersold the challenge that was going to bring moving to Brizzy. I guess because was somewhat familiar with Southeast Queensland, I didn't think that was that big of a deal and hadn't moved before. But it was far larger than what I expected, I guess. And had a great off season playing with the Capitals. Really, really enjoyed that group of guys. The organisation was awesome for me. And then rolled into me having a little man, and then our Bullets season. So it was pretty busy.
Yeah, and you just short of making the finals. That would have been had cards fall a certain way and just missed out again. So that's tough, but something to build on, no doubt, in next year's season. I know some of the clubs are starting to put out their season tickets. Do you know if the Bullets have started advertising their season tickets for next season at this stage? Have you seen anything?
Not yet. They're still working on it at the moment. Obviously, this whole virus and thing that's going on, I think, is delayed where they're at with that. They're just trying to be smarter and handle it. Obviously, a lot of staff at the moment are, like all the volunteers and stuff that help out are probably being let go, and just trying to minimize as much money as we can at the moment. But look, we missed out. We didn't help ourselves. We got off to a slow start, which I was nervous about. We didn't have much of a preseason together, so that made it very hard. And I think just the makeup of our group last year, whilst we had a tremendous depth, we weren't really in specific spots, and it took us a while to figure that out. And then we put ourselves in a position, which is all you want to do to make finals, and it was in our hands. And we lost a weekend to New Zealand and Perth back to back, which was two good teams, two tough games. I thought we played well in both. We just got done, and then that last game we gave ourselves a fighting hope, but United knocked us out. But it's weird. We sat there at the end of the season and we have exit meetings and stuff, and I talked to the coaches, and there was this belief that we made the playoffs last year, but I felt like we were closer to winning a title this year than we were last year. And it's the weirdest thing to say, because you're sitting there watching finals, you've just been knocked out, you're not in the playoff hunt, you can't win a title, but I felt like we were closer this year than what we were last year. And I think that's a great thing going forward, because we do have a lot of our group together still. And so if we can just add certain pieces, fix a few things up, I think we can really hit the ground running. Hopefully, if this virus thing blows over, we can hit the ground running and be a couple of steps ahead of where teams will be come pre-season.
So got a question in here from someone, and what I've got to watch here is there are policies with the NBL and also with the Bullets, their social media policies. So I'll let you're aware of what those are, but we do have a question on your thoughts. Obviously, Bogut gave his thoughts on the NBL Championship and how it was decided given the situation. Have you guys bought in or had any discussions around that is worth sharing?
I mean, it's a hard one, I guess. Like, I'm obviously friends with some of the Kings guys and multiple guys around the league, and I think it's hard to say. Look, at the end of the day, Perth are up 2-1. Sydney technically pulled out, so I can understand them giving it to Perth. I thought there would have been no harm done in calling it a no and just awarding no one the trophy, and just basically ruling even two champions or just none at all. I just thought with what's gone on and where the world is at right now, there would have been no harm done doing that. But I think at the end of the day, if you had to award it to someone based on where the final series was at, I can't see how you could have given it to Sydney just because they were down 2-1. But I think both teams were very, very good, deserved to be in the final. But yeah, it was definitely a weird thing, especially folks said that there was some things said that in meetings and things like that, and none of us know what happened in that, so it's hard to comment on that side of things. But if there was different things said to different people, then obviously that would impact, especially somebody like Sydney's thoughts when they thought maybe it was going to be a different outcome.
Yeah. So let's talk about, we'll go back a little bit. So I said there was a few things that happened for you last year. One of them was the off-season QBL MVP. How do you feel you're balling at the moment, like yourself? You obviously also NBL best sixth man, so for 2020. So how do you feel you're balling? Like you're starting to sort of peak, do you think? Like you're at your peak now, do you think? Or do you think there's more?
Yeah, maybe. I think all you can do as an athlete is want to improve every year, and I think I'm probably a bit more. I don't know. I've always understood the game really well. I probably had a bit more of a consistent year this year, and I think it was just a little bit of what I said. I was comfortable. I was in a good place. I'm very fortunate with my partner Jasmine at home and the little one. I had such a life away from basketball with watching that whole evolve, and I feel like just I put myself in a good position in the off season. I worked for the off season. I played. I got back to just being myself, and I feel like that carries a long way when you just feel like you can be yourself and just play basketball and have some fun.
So how's being a father right now and being thrown in the deep end of having to be home all the time? And how old is it Louis or Lewis? How
Look,
Louis? Yeah, I got a Louis and a Lewis in my program, and they're spelt similar. So I always I don't know
oh,
which is
well,
which
we
half the time.
discussed the name. I said because Jasmine really wanted Louis, and I don't like the way it's spelt for that reason. Because
Mm.
even when I read it, sometimes I think Lewis. I'm like, that's not his name. But I question that, and I always question her about, oh, well, that's what you wanted to name him. But no, look, it's been really cool. Obviously, I have so much more respect. Not that I didn't have any as much respect, but the stuff Jasmine has to do day to day. Obviously, when in season I'm training, I'm away for 3 days a week sometimes. We're in and out, and she's doing a lot of the workload. And now I'm the one trying to get up at 6:30 with him and keep him entertained in the morning till he wants to go back for a nap and doing things like that. But I really enjoy it. He's a very good kid. He's a lot like me and her in terms of he's relaxed, happy, and just enjoys being around people and things like that. So it makes being a father, especially to him, a lot easier.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, and you said that was your biggest. Like you got the QBL championship, you got the QBL MVP. You represented Australia this last 12 months as well. So how was that experience to actually put on the green and go? Actually, you were or have been in the squad previously too, haven't you? Or missed out because of your was it your accident or something?
Yeah, so I mean, for starters, anytime you can wear the green and gold is something that you just feel it's bigger than you. It's an experience where you feel like you represent family, friends, and everyone that you kind of know and has had something to do with basketball or anything like that. Because it's not many people get to do it, and at the time we're in now, obviously there's a few more chances to do it because of the FIBA window and how it all works. But I've been in the squad since I was 17 years old, so it's been a while now, 11 years. And I'll never ever forget my first camp, and I'll never forget every camp along the way and the parts to it. And I was in the thick of the squad when I was 18 years old. Made a trip over to South America with the Boomers, like the actual Boomers team at the time, and from there thought I was a chance maybe to just slide in. I was playing well. I was still young and whatnot. And then yeah, I had an accident, and that kind of derailed. I was supposed to go into camp on the Gold Coast. I think it was right before a Worlds, and yeah, had the accident, and that kind of derailed that for a little period of time.
So that was a bit of a question mark over your career, that accident too, because that was at the start of your career, I think, before your rookie season. I vaguely remember you. It might have been a preseason game against the Townsville. I don't know whether they called the Sun. That would have been the Crocs.
Right.
Townsville Crocs in 2010 or 2011, I think. When did the accident happen for you?
2010.
Yeah, so might have been this. You might have come back at the start, and I first experience it was at Auchenflower. I think D-Ruck was actually still playing then too. I think he'd come back into playing up there. I vaguely remember seeing you on the floor, and I didn't know who you were, but I remember the game, and I'm thinking, who is this young guy? Because you're pretty quick and and a bit of a handful for some of the players. And it was at Auchenflower, so it was a preseason game. I don't know if you remember that one. You probably played a few games, so.
I think we played Cairns.
Oh, was it Cairns?
Yeah, I
Well, it
think we
wouldn't be
played Cairns, and I
Derek. It
think
wouldn't
that
have been
was
Derek then.
my second season,
Yeah.
before my second season, because it's the only game I played at Auckland Flower before the Caps last year.
Okay.
And I remember we played Cairns, and all the boys were out. There's only a few of us playing, but I remember that game for that reason.
It was a pre-season game, and I think they were blooding some of the players as the Blaze. I think Joey would have been the coach there, I imagine. Yeah, as
Yeah,
a Gold Coast
a
player.
lot of the older guys didn't play that game, injuries and whatnot and stuff like that. So it was just a lot of, it was me, I was a young one, but it was all the young guys playing. I think we actually may have won that game too. We played really well, but yeah, I remember that game.
So I've got a question here from one of my athletes who wants to know what advice would you give a young athlete, aspiring player who is looking to go to the next level. So he's played SBL or what are they calling that now, QSL, and he's wanting to know what sort of advice would you give a young guy. He's I think he's 20 going on 21.
It's a question you get asked quite a lot, and I don't know if there's ever any right answer, but I think the one thing that as I've grown up and I've found that really helped me when I really think about being young and coming through was one, I loved it and I enjoyed it. So I was always around stadiums and at home playing and things like that. But then also I think about the people I had around me, and I feel like as I've got older, I feel like you have to surround yourself with good people, whether it's coaches, friends, players, teammates, whatever it is. I just growing up, I had great people around me from all aspects, and I was fortunate in a way. My dad and my mum played for Australia, and I had a very good family connection to sport. But I think about the people that I chose to hang out with, and I chose to be around, and a lot of them were teammates as well. And I just think that they carry such a weight in what you choose to do and how you train and things like that. And I just the better people you can surround yourself with, the more advice you end up taking in, and I think you end up becoming a better person for it because you're not only listening to great people, but you're also helping others. And the more you can do that, I only think it can help you.
Yeah, that's good advice, and I agree with you. People are so important. I actually learned that a lot later in life, and I wish as a coach, because I've been coaching for a long time, I wish I'd actually worked that stuff out a lot earlier. Your mate Joe has just apologised because he was going to be on the stream. I'll let you speak to that. You got in early, but look, he's probably just seen the message. But he will be on. I'll get him on. So formerly Big Joe. Actually, what are we calling him these days? I don't even know.
Well, here you go. Big Joe was me and him were roommates when I first signed with the Blaze. So I've known Biggie now for a long time, and he's a very good guy, and I'm sure he'll have a plethora of stories to tell you when he gets on here.
Yeah, I shout out to Joe who's messaged me, but I actually first met him at the Ausday Carnival at Maroochydore when the women's NBL were playing, and Eric Bailey was the coach and he was managing, and I had a good chat with him. Then he was selling uniforms. He's at Spartans, but he had a uniform business. But he's been going a really long time in basketball, mate. He's a feature and a fixture, and everyone hears Sweet Caroline or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone.
He plays that wherever he can. Sweet Caroline.
So
Everyone singing it. That's his go-to. But no, he's been in basketball a long time.
Yeah,
he's not big anymore, but Biggie, I still can't not call him Big Joe. So Biggie, yeah, he's been around a long time and done a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, so he was manager at. He actually managed the Blaze. I think he was involved with the Bullets as well. I think he was involved 36ers, obviously. I'm probably missing a club. I know he ran the Darwin Basketball Association. That's something I did for eight months. I ran the DBA for 8 months in 2001. So some of our friends are mutual now. So Rod Tremlett and guys like that. But yeah, so Joe, we won't miss out on having Big Joe on live stream with friends. We'll try and set that up for next week, Big Joe, seeing as you tuned in. But if anyone here is watching and wants to ask Jason Cadee a question, then we are live streaming across multiple platforms. I will go to some of the others and check. But what I will say is, if you're watching and you want to share this, I'd appreciate if you shared it across social medias so that some of your friends who may not know that we're live streaming tonight, who might be sitting at home bored, as most basketballers are right now, can jump on the chat and be involved. So let's get people hitting that share button, yeah, and try and build up a bit of an audience here so we can throw some more questions at Jason Cadee. But I got one for you, Jace. You posted on your socials that you were going to buy a jet ski, mate. So did that happen? And if not, why not? And when will that happen? And you've got some stories I don't know if you can share, as some of your workmates have told you about their experiences. So
you can stop at the start because it did happen. For ages, I live with Todd Blanchfield in Sydney. I've been friends with Todd forever, and he had one. And we went out a few times, but not enough in Sydney. Sydney's a bit harder to get out and about. But I loved it, and me and Sobes were talking about different things, and you got like Moreton Bay and all these little islands that you can get to, and Sobes was like, "Oh, imagine if we had a little boat and like a jet ski or something." And we were talking about how easy it is in Brisbane to get anywhere. You go down the Gold Coast or wherever, and you get it in the water. And so then me and Will Magnay were talking about, oh, blah, blah. He's like, well, what about if we just went halves and then just used it? We can both use it. Makes sense. Like, we don't have to fully go in it. So, anyway, I got put onto a guy, actually. He's a jet ski racer. And so he's friends with a friend of mine, but
right.
His name's Guy Greenland. Races all over the world, and he does up skis and things like that. And he had his own personal one that he kind of looked after with me with, and gave me a nice little Yamaha that is sitting in my garage right now, and I've only got to take it out a couple of times, but it's good fun.
So did you go pairs or partners with Will, or what's the go that you
Me and
shared?
Will went half, so it's worked out perfect. He's taken out a couple of times, I've taken out a couple of times. We've gone together, so it's good fun. It's perfect for both of us to have a bit of fun, and it's actually, I went along the Brisbane River, and it was quite amazing being on the water. You drive past there, but just being on the water and going past and looking at everything going on, and some of the house along the river and all that. It's actually not a bad little break from just everything and everyone, just being out in the water by yourself and hooning around. So it's I think it'll become a nice little mental break for me over the through the season and so on.
Is it a good size for Will? Because he's not exactly small.
That was our problem. We were like, what one will he fit in? But no, it worked out perfect. It's perfect size for him. They're all pretty big these days, but no, Will fits on it, and so do I. So it's all good.
I've been trying to throw out there a nickname for Will, but I know because I got Will. I assistant coached him with Wayne Larkins back when he was at Nudgee and he was 12 and coming through, and then 16s at club as well. But I was going to throw something in there, just sidetracked. I was going to ask something about Will. Skyscraper. I was going to call him the skyscraper because of how many blocks does that guy get? Seriously. So
a lot.
yeah.
A lot. No, he's an athlete. He's one of the most ridiculous athletes I've seen in a long time, and specifically with his timing. Like I remember, so I played with Will. We went to China with a Boomers trip. It was like an emerging Boomers they called it, and Will was, I want to say he was 17. I was, what am I, 5 years older than him? I think I am, 6 years older. And so I remember being away with him. We were playing men's teams, and just his timing, it was just ridiculous. The way he just straight in the air, blocked shots and things like that. And then when I got here last year, and I hadn't seen Will play properly for a while, and I remember the first 3 weeks of preseason, Hodgie trying to dunk on him, and just every time, just like blocked or just contested, and he couldn't make it. And Hodgie was losing his mind about it. Eventually, Hodgie got him a couple of times, but his timing's second to none. And I would say, in my personal opinion, he's the closest person to Simon Dwight defensively I've seen in the NBL anyway.
Yeah, because Dwight his ability to block was uncanny. So yeah,
and his timing, just the shots he changed. Like I noticed this year. I mean, in the QBL it's different level and stuff, but people just scared to shoot. And then even in the NBL, I noticed people started to quicken shots up and just shoot shots maybe a little further out than what they would, and really start to pay attention to where he was on the floor. And it's quite significant, the difference it makes in your defense when you have people like that. Just that.
Oh yeah.
Timing and just how you can just drive stuff to him. It really changes everything. And then I think that's what gives Will a chance to be elite. Just he's smart defensively, his ability to just change shots, and his ability to run, and he's honestly he's a gazelle the way he moves. So he's doing really well, and I think it's a year's worth of basketball that he's put in now to put himself in a good spot.
He's certainly working hard, and that is demonstrated by his most improved. So, uh, we got a fellow teammate that's just given us both a shout out, JK. So
Oh,
Jeremy
yeah.
Kendall's chatting and saying g'day to yourself and myself, and I actually interviewed Jeremy on People with a Passion, not the live stream. So he was one of my earlier interviews last year. So he's really really good guy, as you know. You talk about good people and being involved in a club with good people. Also, a father, a new father, a new family man.
He's the ultimate dad. He's the expert dad. He's got two of them. I say to him every time I see him, I say, I get more respect for you every day. I go home, I got to take care of my young fella. I said, he's easy to do. I said, but two of them, that's a whole different world. At the same time, same age.
He's been doing it hard watching you guys from the sidelines. I think you guys
Oh,
know that he's been working. So and now this NBL, like he was this whole NBL one situation with not being able to play because he was readying himself to come back from his rehab with his ACL and coach play for Southwest and then this. So I can only imagine how. I tell you what, when he finally hits the floor, I think it'll be a scary day for whoever's guarding him because he'll be so keen to get out and
uh, he's, he's,
taste it.
he's been around the club a little bit. He was running a lot of the community stuff, so we've seen him a lot doing his rehab, and everyone loves Jay. He's always friendly, always up and about, always positive. And for somebody that's going through a lot with all of that, injuries and as you said, was going to coach. Now he can't coach. He's got twins and everything. He's always positive, and even some of those days you could see it was wearing on him a little bit. He's still in there trying to do what he can, and no, I'm looking forward to seeing him play again whenever that may be. And he's one of the better blokes you'll find around, that's for sure.
Mm. I was watching a game and he was up on one of the mezzanines, the New Zealand game that you lost. That you had a nice little lead and we were both a bit worried about it and yeah, you dropped the game. So like that was a 3 point loss. The game shot on the buzzer. So yeah, so we don't want to relive those, but there are ones that get away, and it just shows you how important they are because just that one game could have got you guys in that final. But what? So you guys had an exit. You have exit meetings at the end of each season and things like that. What are some of the things that? And I don't know whether you want to tell the other clubs too much, but what are the things you need to take away that you're going to be focused on? You feel as an athlete next season.
Yeah, I mean everyone probably goes through the same thing with most clubs. It's pretty common. You cover a range of different things. Obviously, as I've got older and now I guess in my role within the Bullets, I have probably more of a leadership role where I probably have more of an, I guess I wouldn't say a say, but they ask more of my opinion of what I think of different things and things that I like, things that I don't like, and things that we can get better at. So my meeting went for a fair bit of time and covered a range of different things. But for me, I think it's obviously this whole virus impacts my plans, but it's just about continue to evolve and put in work and taking care of your body and little things like that so that you give yourself the best chance come pre-season to hit the ground running and put in that good 2 months of pre-season, whatever it may be, and flow into the season in a nice state of mind and in a nice physical way. So it's more about just taking care of yourself and doing little things and just keep improving whatever it is. It can be shooting defensively, it can be a whole range of different things, but it's always about continue to evolve and just improve yourself.
I got a question for you because you're at the highest, or well, you are representing Australia at times, highest level of basketball in this country. How much do you work on your mental game? I just interviewed a mental toughness coach who works with UFC fighters on People with a Passion, and he is hugely works with Olympians and things like that. Do you guys work in that space, or are you sort of required to do that yourself? Do you have that support at the Bullets?
We have that support. I would say it's probably underused. I don't think a lot of even myself. I don't use it. I don't know if a lot of other boys do. Like, a few do here and there, and I've been teammates with some that do and love it. And I guess yeah, as I said, it's probably is underused, and it's probably one of those things sometimes about biting the bullet if you need to go talk to someone. I probably should have done it. Not this season, just gone the one before when I was kind of struggling and I had a lot going on in my life, and things like that. But it's one of those things for me. I find that I'm at my best, and I feel great when I'm just relaxed, and I'm in a good headspace when I feel like I've done all the right things and I've been around, and I feel very relaxed with how things are, and I just always feel in my own. I play at my own speed, my own pace, and just in a good mood. Really, that's all it's about. And it's easy to block stuff out and just get out to playing basketball when you feel that way.
Now with COVID-19 and the crisis, is a time for people to actually, I guess, work on those aspects that they wouldn't otherwise work on. This is an opportunity as well as, a hindrance, I guess. So I'm going to throw something that Brian Kane actually has on his website, given I just spoke with him. And that interview went up on Sunday on People with a Passion's YouTube channel. He has a three-day online course that's free for athletes to work on their mental toughness, where he goes through 10 pillars of peak performance on things that can help people. Now, that might help you, it might not, but there may be people watching here that are looking for something to do, like some younger athletes that are working on their game. And I'm just having a look at Steve Catlin. I don't know what he sent. He sent through he sent through a picture, which is typical of a video guy. It's like, I'll have a look at that. I'll have to ask him to send me the message because I'm not wearing glasses. So Steve,
Steve, I can imagine he's setting me up for sure.
Yeah, there's something in there in the chat, and we're probably missing a chat or something. I've got messages in. Here we go. I'm missing. Oh, Junior Albert's on another. Yeah. So what I think he's pointing out is that there's another chat window. So fanfare, off season, WTF. So fanfare's not very happy about the situation, obviously. So that's pretty funny. So how some of the guys at the Capitals handling it? Actually, you guys would have been starting training, I imagine. So to find out, and you guys would have been, I reckon, having a good challenge to go back to back this year with everyone pretty much returning. So how's that blow gone for you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. Obviously all the guys were like, for them, this is their chance to get out, play, and get a little release. And obviously with the team we had, they were on my case, and Will and all that, about coming back and going again, and we managed to get majority of us, I think all of us except Aaron Anderson. We couldn't get him back with me and Will, but yeah, it was disappointing. I really enjoyed playing the QBL last year. Now to be the NBL one, and as I said, it wasn't because we won. It wasn't because we had such a great season. It had nothing to do with me winning an MVP. I just enjoyed the group of guys, and I said to Sammy, I hurt myself in game one of the QBL last year, but for the few weeks before that I trained and whatever, I was just so excited to play again, and I really enjoyed that group. They didn't care what I did. They didn't care if I shot too many shots or whatever. They were just happy to play, and I played for 3 or 4 weeks on a bad heel. I could barely run, but they just were so much fun to play with, and I could manage to get around well enough that I could still contribute and just be a distraction, really. And I just put that down to the group of guys. They were so good to play with, and I enjoyed playing for Sammy. I've known Sammy since I was 5 years old, and now as I'm an adult and a bit older, I can relate to Sammy and sit down and have a beer with him and things like that, and talk to Sammy like he's one of my mates. And so there's a whole host of reasons as to why I loved it. And to not play again this year, it is a blow, because I was really looking forward to trying to have another crack at it. And I feel like we kind of, no one really rated us as high as they claim they would now last year, and I feel like we would have had a chance to do good things again this year.
It's a demonstration of because I'm throwing back to when you talk about good people. There's what's the word? Chemistry is so important to any team, and I think we started to see that with the Bullets come the end of the season. You know, where you were saying that you guys weren't fully aware and understanding your roles early season, and you felt you had a late start. But you guys did well against the championship team throughout the season. You guys seemed to match up against Perth quite well. So you guys seem to be spoilers. So I reckon if you got to the finals, it would have been a quite interesting exercise. I was smiling before because I got to Steve's. I saw what he was pointing my attention to. he's trying to create some controversy here. JC, he's got.
He started.
He wants to know, in your opinion, who is the best team manager in the NBL. So he's trying to pit you against some people. Here we
He's
go.
trying to start it now because Steve knows Junior and Biggie taught Junior, so I have to try and pick between both of them.
Yeah.
But in fairness, Big Joe taught Junior everything he knows, so they're both equally as good as each other. But I've had some very good team managers because Laurie Watterson in Sydney,
Mm,
old Loza, he's stubborn, but he's one of the best guys I've ever met in my life. He's a legend. They had another guy there, Richard Bradley, who sadly just passed
mm.
away through all the bushfires. Rich helped Loza out for the last 20 years, and he was a legend. I had Jared Campbell in Adelaide, who was good. So I've been very fortunate with managers in my time in the NBL that I've had some of the better guys you'll meet, and hopefully for the rest of my career, I can keep having great managers.
um, that's the right answer, by the way.
I knew what Steve was trying to create there. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah. So I interviewed Paul Foster, who's the video guy for the Fire, mate of Steve's. They work well together. And again, I'm people with a passion. So if people want to find out what the video analytics stuff is, which Steve does for the Bullets, but then check out the Steve Foster thing. But I could ask you who you think the best video guy is in the NBL. Yeah, there you go. You've had a few.
Steve, easy, mate.
Yeah, he is good. There you go, Steve. You won one there. So I'm just going through the comments. You got any comments or questions at your end that you can see from anyone?
I've had a few silly ones. One of my friends, Brett Gemmell, who's actually I met through Todd Blanchfield, wanted to know he's big into horse racing, as am I, and he wanted to know who's going to win the TJ Smith Stakes on Saturday at Randwick.
Well, give your answer if you've been looking at.
I think Bivouac's going to win for Godolphin, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, he'll be blaming you if you're wrong. So it's he probably
100%.
won't take your advice. So if you're watching this live stream with Jason Cadee, who's an Australian representative basketballer, he was the sixth best six man in the NBL last year, a QBL MVP. And a father last year, all in 12 months, mate. It was a busy year for you. So, one of the things I want to know is how, when you came back from your car accident, that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
How hard was that for you to? Did you know where you were at? Were the doctors saying you could or couldn't do certain things, like with that
Um,
injury?
so I was pretty fortunate. Like at the end of the day, I got hit by a semi trailer going 100 k's an hour on a freeway on the driver's side. Um, how I did not die that day, I honestly do not know. That's not even exaggerating. And I've got some good friends who are overhearing the story, like Anthony Petrie. If he's watching, he'll love this. He's heard it that many times. But it was honestly when I was 18 at the time. I wasn't being an idiot. I was just driving home to get my parents. My dad needed a car after a meeting they had. Um, got pushed off the road, spun out, got hit by a semi trailer. Next minute, I'm in hospital. I thought I was honestly fine till they tried to get me out of the car, and I remember it felt like my whole inside of my body just crushed together. And I kind of didn't know what was wrong because I didn't have any bruises on me, I didn't have anything on, and they did a bunch of tests, and then they finally worked out I had a broken pelvis. They didn't know the extent of it. They told me that I was going into surgery to repair the broken pelvis, and I could wake up with pins and plates outside of my body going in, or it could all be internal. So obviously, it sounds as bad as it would to have
Mm.
pins going from outside into your body. So I was just hoping it was internal. Um, when I woke up, they were managed to fix it all internal. I had a 14 centimeter screw put in, and I have a plate and 6 pins in the front of my pelvis. And basically, all they could tell me was that it was going to be probably 8 to 12 months, and it was going to take a while for me to be able to walk again, let alone run and play basketball. And I was 18, I was naive. I just treated it probably like an ankle injury. I managed to play after 5.5 months. That was my first NBL
Mm.
game. So I worked and got back, but it was probably in the end it was too soon because throughout that season, after my first game, put it this way, I played my first game and I could barely walk to the car. I think I even had Biggie in that kind of half carry me to the car, and the next day I couldn't move off the couch. So my first season was pretty tough, but yeah, it was one of those things I learnt quickly on the fly where you got to be in your body, and I guess your body is the greatest teller of where you're at. And for me, that was a time where I was probably lucky I went through it at that age because, as I said, I was a bit naive to everything and I kind of just treated it as if it wasn't as significant as what it is.
Mm.
Whereas now, at an older state, I probably would have been way more mindful and careful of what I was doing and things like that. But it was definitely something I wouldn't wish upon anyone. It was tough, but it was something that probably helped made me who I am today.
Yeah, so a lot of people who face those sort of adversities often have stories of how they overcome their adversity. So obviously rehab and things like that. I know with Jeremy, he had multiple operations. Jeremy Kendall,
Yeah.
to overcome. You know, you had a broken foot, and then got that repaired, and then had another broken foot, and he's had all these other injuries, and now he's ACL, and he keeps coming back, and the mental toughness that it would take to get yourself back on the horse, so to speak, given you said you like the horse racing. I've got a couple of questions here, so you can have a look if you've got any, but I've got, I wish I, so how does Jace go driving a trailer? Who would that be asking that?
That could be a range of different people.
That's got to be Steve Catlin. So
Yeah.
Steve's obviously the insider here. So what's the go with that? What's happened here that we need to know about with your ability to drive a trailer?
No, I've just probably because I got the ski now and I've never really driven with the trailer. And I said to him, I was like, if I get a jet ski, I need to learn how to drive. And I had Junior trying to teach me the other day, not teach me, but just give me some pointers. But it's somewhat easy. Reversing down a boat ramp's the hardest part, obviously. But I think it just takes time. Obviously, those things when you're not used to driving with anything behind your car takes a bit of time. But I'm sure I'll figure it out as I go. Cars these days have that many cameras too. That helps.
Yeah, so I actually had a boat and I hadn't had that experience neither. It takes you a little while, but you do get it. And I agree with you when you said going out on the water is just a really good thing to do. I used to go fishing, but I didn't care if I caught fish because I just like to be out on the water, you know. So same thing with the jet ski, as long as you're staying safe. What was the Sammy Mack story? Are we allowed to talk about it? What did he do that was with his jet ski that Biggie was sort of alluding to when you're looking to buy one? Are you able to share? Will Sammy get?
So Sammy's had a ski since he said he got one when he was in Townsville. So Sammy McKinnon got his license under interesting circumstances. Basically, got it handed to him.
Mm.
But anyway, and he had a jet ski, and he said on Townsville, obviously, you get across to I think it's Magnetic Island and whatever, and so Sammy one day got home from a road trip and just wanted to take the jet ski out. Quickly went and got it, put it in the water, drove over to wherever. He had mates over at an island or something. He got off, Jeff sand anchored it, whatever. Went away, come back, and his ski had started to sink. He forgot to put the bungers in. It started to sink. So he had to ring his mate who got him the ski and helped him with it. And the guy said, look, just get back on it, start riding it. It'll be fine. And then once we get it, we'll fix it for you. And so he managed to get it all the way back somehow. And he just put it straight onto a trailer. And he didn't see it again for about 3-4 weeks while they fixed it.
Yeah, no, I wonder what that was because this is the funny thing when you're in a team environment. Nothing goes unmissed. There's guys bantering and know the story sometimes before you've told the next guy. So that's pretty cool. So I've got an athlete. One of my athletes has got a question here. Ethan Thomas works hard. This kid. He knows my playbook better than me. So I commend him for that. Would you please ask Jason Cadee about his usual training load? Like how much he works each day, please. So in a normal season, let's talk about season and then off season. So just for this young guy who's trying to obviously get an opportunity in the NBL down the track, what's your load management for off season? And then we'll go off season first, given that's where you are at the moment. Obviously with the COVID, it's not that clear, but we'll start off season, then talk about when you're in season.
Yeah, well, obviously now not a whole lot, but off season last year for me, I'll just go off last year. We had the 2 capital sessions a week, and then pair that in with a game. So I factored it. You got to find a weird mix for the off season, be trying to tick things over and keep your body going, but also not burning yourself out. Like although our season isn't overly long, by the time you start pre-season, you get through the end of the season, it is actually takes a pretty big toll on your body and mentally. But so you got to find that nice little mix. And so for me last year, we had organised sessions with the Bullets, which was just purely individuals most of the time with one scrimmage day, and that was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday for maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Well, they weren't long, but so for me, it was the two capital sessions took priority for me with like one game or two, and then I would normally tick in two of those bullet sessions, and then I would lift 2 to 3 times a week, and I'd also run one of the days as well, just out on the grass field. Me and Will and Hodgie, we just started doing some running stuff, just something different off a basketball court, bit of extra fitness. And sometimes I'm not a massive lover of running, but when you do it in environments where you can just go with a few of the boys and be off a basketball court, it's actually quite nice to be able to do.
You got someone who I'm guessing is a fan, Tyler Grealish. He's wants to know where his his single.
Tyler, so Tyler's mum, Durrani, is our team manager for the Capitals. Here you go,
Right.
another one. One of the best ladies you'll ever meet. And
Mhm.
Tyler's a good kid himself.
Yeah.
Not too bad, actually. He's okay. But Durrani bought a couple of singlets and t-shirts, and my fault. I kept forgetting to give it to Tyler, but I did have it. Tyler said, "Bring it to training Capitals, blah blah blah. I'll be there." I took it twice for our last two sessions before we all got shut down, and Tyler was nowhere to be seen. So this is purely on him.
Yeah, like that. Good answer as well, mate. You got some good answers coming tonight. So my cousin's saying g'day to me. He's in the chat. Have you got any questions from anyone there, Jason, that you want to check out? I just
I
checked.
think they've all gone to the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
I got tagged in something on JK's.
Yeah. So we
Something
got.
about hair, saying it's the comb over, but it's extremely long. I haven't had a haircut since February, so I think I'm not gonna have one until we can roam the streets again.
Yeah. So we are live here with Jason Cadee, in case some people don't know who we're chatting with. So live streaming with friends. It's not just live streaming. The idea is you guys ask questions of Jason, an opportunity to ask some questions, and he'll share the best response he can give, as diplomatic as he can, particularly if they are in the NBL or the Bullets. So we'll I've got a question for you about the new ownership of the Bullets, mate. How are you finding it with the new ownership team, and what's the young guy's name? Kevin Martin. Have you connected with him? Has he been at the club at all at any stage to see what their investment is?
Yeah, Kev and Ricky, his partner, that business partner, they were there quite often. That they weren't around a whole heap, obviously, because they were still in the States and they were figuring out their commitment and that. But the times they were around, they were pretty in the background, but they were always, respectful, come and talk, and they seem like really, obviously, basketball people. We all know that, but yeah, they were good to have around. But I would say it was more in the background side of things. But obviously, it wasn't in the background of you never seen them or never heard from them or never talked to them. But it was more of a just see how it all works and figure things out. And I'm not sure what the stake they've had in the club or where that's, because that was supposed to, obviously with this whole off season and the way it's going now, they were supposed to kind of take over a certain point, but I'm not sure how that works from now. But he, they were really good when they were around, and hopefully they can help the Bullets go to another level. And feel like we started to do that from the last few seasons, and I'm looking forward to next season, hopefully with them controlling it.
I've got another question on YouTube. So I haven't been going to the YouTube tab, so I apologise to those who are on YouTube. I do miss some of these questions. This is from another Ausswish athlete. That's my program. Are you currently training in isolation at home? So what are you actually doing training-wise? Because you mentioned the physio on D-Ruck. And by the way, Derek Ruckus, I saw he's starting his podcast again, The Ruckus. So shout out to him. And he's in a similar space to me, but he does the basketball one, so sporting one. But question there. So what are you doing at the moment?
It's hard, not a whole lot. I haven't touched the basketball for a week. Last time I was able to shoot was when I was in Sydney at home with my family. But I've just been doing little things, rehab stuff. I've got some weight stuff and that I can do at the moment, and then just running. Really, there's obviously not a whole lot I can do. I started to get into Pilates. I did a lot of stuff with Steph Bairstow at Body Smart, and so I can't do that even at the moment, things like that. So it's just about doing things I can, band workouts, and just more about running and doing things like that. It's trying to keep some load in my legs so that once I can get back on court, they don't go into pure shock from trying to run around.
Hmm. So I've got a question again from Ethan. So Ethan's good at asking questions. I love it. He's one of the athletes that is constantly engaging me and asking as much as he can of everyone. So he's not going to miss this opportunity to ask you, what's the biggest difference in skill between NBL and he said QBL, which is now obviously NBL one. So what do you see as the difference between those that are in that league compared to the NBL? Where do you see the differences? And what are they?
Uh, it's probably just it's definitely a lot quicker. Um, more athletes and things like that. You get bigger people, bigger athletes. The game's a bit faster. I'd say too, there's just a separation from you go from people who train twice a week, maybe shoot now and then, to people who do it full time. And so you obviously notice a difference just with the talent level and things like that. But I do think for the QBL for an off-season league and for a local league is one of the better ones I've played in, and that's including New Zealand and things like that. But yeah, I'd say it's the pace and the size, and you come up against some very very talented imports, and you got the best players from all around Australia playing in the NBL. So it makes it a league that you have to be switched on and at your best every night, or you'll get found out pretty quick.
Hmm. So you mentioned a couple of years ago you're struggling a little bit and wish you'd sort of done a little bit more with the mental side of the game. What were you struggling with? Was that more around role within the team? Because it looked like the team was a little bit disjointed. So I'm just reading between the lines. What was your what did you feel you may have needed that and didn't take that opportunity to talk to someone about how you're feeling mentally?
No, I just think it was a whole host of things. Obviously, as I said, like that decision to leave Sydney at the time was by far the hardest decision I've ever made. Just, I kind of, in my mind, I wasn't going to leave Sydney. I loved it. I'd set up a great thing there with the club, with the people of Sydney, with the fans, and people now that I love going back to see. And so I just, in my head, I wasn't leaving. And then obviously being around Dre for a number of years, always loved playing for him in different environments. And I had the chance to go to Brisbane actually a while ago now when they first came back in the league, but I stayed with Sydney because that's where I wanted to be. And chance come up to go again to Brisbane, and my family, my dad and Grant Cadee, my cousin uncle, they're two of the people that probably when it comes to basketball decisions I talk to more than anyone, and they were pretty big on pushing the whole Brisbane thing. They just thought Dre and the system here would be perfect for me. And so making that move was the first challenge. I think as I said before, underestimated the difficult side of moving away from home and just being in Sydney where I had family and friends and everyone. And then I guess once I got to Brisbane, I was starting and I took probably such a responsibility of trying to look after people in the team and trying to make sure Glidden was getting his shots, making sure Nyan Lamar and Hodgie and Bairstow and I don't think I had a bad year, but I just found such a responsibility. I think that I tried to help and make sure people were getting shots and getting in the right spot, but then it took away from me just being myself as well and that ability to score and kind of get going. And I had some other stuff going on at the time. Obviously, Jasmine through her pregnancy had some difficulties and things, and so there was just a whole heap of different stuff going on that I guess that whole element of not being in Sydney too kind of just threw it up on things where I probably could have spoke out and talked to people a bit more about it, and it might have helped. But as I said, I don't think I had a horrible year or anything, but it just probably wasn't me and who I am as a person. And so when you start to feel like you're not playing to who you are or not being yourself, it becomes kind of, I guess, you get a bit lost in what's going on and who you are and what you bring. And so for me, that was probably the first time I'd really experienced it on that kind of level.
Because you had Adam Gibson, I believe, in that roster, but he was injured for a good portion of the season. And one would think, given your ability to shoot, you would have been coming off screens and being more of a two in the two spot. But you got given the point guard responsibility, and you do interchange between those two. Obviously, a combo guard, but in that environment, I guess with Gibbo, Australian point guard, that you would have probably been thinking you're coming in to probably play backup point and a shooting guard, yeah? Or was that Was it?
No,
You were coming
I'm
in as a point
naturally a
guard?
point. I think
Yeah,
people get confused because I shoot the ball that I'm a
yeah,
two-man.
yeah.
I can play off the ball. I think I'm fortunate enough that my IQ, purely off growing up in basketball, things like that, allows me to be able to. There's guys that I've played with who are unbelievable. Some of the guys that we've watched in the NBL that I played with, and they're such spectacular players, but they don't know how to play when they don't have the ball in their hands. And I think I've been fortunate enough that I have the ability to play off the ball because I can shoot. But naturally, I'm a point guard, and having the ball in my hands, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm one of the ones that just holds onto it and whatnot. But I think my ability, as is you spoke about Gibbo's ability to put people in spots and set people up and run stuff. I think that's one of my qualities, and I learned a lot of Gibbo when I was younger, doing the same thing. But yeah, naturally I'm a point, but playing the two to me is it's also easy as well. It's just understanding systems and where you can be open and things like that. But yeah, definitely, I'm naturally a point guard.
You talk about and said earlier about the basketball IQ at the NBL level as well. How much sharing goes on between players, between clubs when you arrive at a new club? Because you guys have a growth mindset. A lot of athletes don't survive in the NBL if you don't. So you're constantly learning and learning from each other. Who are some of the players that have taught you a great deal in the sport? So aside from the coaches, which players have had the most impact in helping you?
Um, I yeah, I mean, I said it earlier. I like surrounding yourself with good people, and I think I am a people person. I like being around and talking and things like that, and so I've been very lucky. Early on, Brad Newley was one. I was in the Boomers program. I was 17. I didn't know anyone. I was young, and he just took me under his wing, and I've been very good mates with Brad ever since. But so he was one, and then when I got to the Gold Coast, I had James Harvey, who I watched for years when he was at the Razorbacks when my dad was the CEO. But I also had Gibbo, who was massive for me. Anthony Petrie, who's one of my best mates, both of them. Peach was been big for me for the last 10 years, and even now he's someone that after a game, talk to him, I get exactly how it's played out, his honest opinion and things like that. So I had him. Kevin Lish was awesome for me when I was in Sydney playing for him, playing with him for a couple of years was just what he's like as a bloke, the competitor he is, and things like that. Like I've had a lot, but there are a few of them that really stand out for me that just off the top of my head. But as I said, I'd be taking it because there's so many other people and players that I've played with that really added value and were just selfless guys that try and help you and make you better. Even recent years, Mika Vakona, he's everyone sees what Mika does and how he plays on and off the court, but I've always wanted to play with Mika Vakona, and I feel so fortunate that if this was his last year, he doesn't play anymore, that I got to spend at least 2 years playing with him because on and off the court, things that he does for a club are something that you just can't teach people. It's just something that naturally comes to him, and it was a great honour and experience to play with Mix.
Yeah, no, he. I love watching him because the whole tempo of the game raises when he steps on the floor. He gets a lot of fouls. I've had a comment to him a couple of times about how hard he works that he earns his fouls. But he does. He lifts the whole team when he's on the floor, and that's a testament to of leading by example. And I think every team needs that guy that goes into the battle with their teammates and just his energy and effort that he brings at his age and his experience that he brings, and particularly at the defensive end, you got to commend someone with that sort of work ethic. I've got we'll be finishing up shortly because I've got to be conscious that you have a. I know you've been bored, but you also don't want to spend all night on a live
Mate,
stream.
we can talk as long as you need. I've got nothing. I've got
Nothing.
nothing on. I think the little fella's asleep, so we're good.
Okay. Yeah, because the reason being is Ethan, as I said, he loves to ask questions. He's saying this is the last one, but mate, this is an opportunity to ask someone who's got experience. I'm speaking to Ethan there. Ethan's asked last question, but can you ask Jason about finding a balance between scoring and sharing the ball, please? So that finding that balance.
As I, it for me, it's hard to describe because it just comes naturally to me. Like I just naturally, as a younger player, I could score the ball and just being able to find people was natural to me to come off on balls and find people on the opposite side and things like that. But I just think it's for me, it's a balance of what's working too. Like you have to know in the rhythm of a game who's going, where they are, what works. If you're rolling, then maybe it's your time. Maybe if it's Cameron Glidden or Nathan Sobey and I'm in the game with them, it's maybe how can I get them a shot, and then on the backside of that, it might come back to me, and then I can get in a flow. It's kind of how it works in the rhythm of a game, and just being able to figure out what's working, what's not, what plays you've been running that might get people good looks. And I think as that goes, you end up finding stuff for yourself in amongst it anyway. So I just think it's more about finding out, just figuring out what's working, and then as you naturally go, especially if you're a scorer, you're a scorer. Some people are just scorers, and that's nothing against them. Like, then that's how they're built and that's how they play. And some people are great at finding other people. Like, we see so many different players now that are great at just assisting people and putting people in spots. So some people just, that's how they are, and that comes naturally to them. But I think the biggest thing is just how the game's flowing, and sometimes it's just about recognising that it's somebody else's night, and how can you help them get better and have a great night. And then I think in the end it all comes back to you anyway.
Yeah. Got a YouTube question thrown at you. And again, you might know these people. I'm not sure if you know them, but Javan Govender, Jason, your free throw percentage was 75% last year. I don't know if that's true. I haven't checked the stats. You may well know. Have you ever considered switching it up to Jackie Moon's underarm shot? So.
It might not be a bad idea. Free throws I always miss the second one. CJ Bruton kills me every time because he says you make the hardest one on the first one, then you miss the second one. I think free throws is mental. I think I shot that many free throws in my life that you can't practice them as much as you want. I think it's mental. I just think you need to reset yourself when you get to the free throw line. Obviously, the flow of a game you might be blowing or whatnot, but I think it's a lot of the free throw stuff is definitely mental.
Have you seen the home court app or used it? I know D-Ruck.
But I've had a few people talking to me about it lately, and about different things, and you can reach out and touch it as you dribble the ball and things like that. It seems pretty good.
The only reason I ask is because I watched a thing where Steve Nash shoots a heap of free throws. He hasn't played for a while, but he's still shooting at 90%. He's 94.5% over his career, I think he was, which is phenomenal. And I think Steph Curry's up there as well. He's shooting around that. But apparently what the app shows is that people who can make it consistently, they only have a 4% variance in where their hand finishes. The app actually shows them the consistency. So where they're finishing their hands.
I worked out with Derek Rucker a bit last off season, and he had that app.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I've used it for shooting wise, and it's pretty crazy the site it shows to all that. I mean, I guess it's pretty accurate. But
it's free at the moment.
The difference in your release and things like that, it definitely shows.
If people haven't checked it out and you are into basketball, then the home court app is available on iOS, and it is free at the moment. They've actually unlocked all the features because of the situation with COVID-19. So if you
can use it,
you can use it. So yeah, something you might not be aware of, but it's free. It was announced that they would offer it. I think it was free for 30 days. It's probably been about 10 now. And they may extend that, obviously, given the situation, but basically all the features are unlocked. So all the training features, all the shooting features, coaches can, So they've come up with that Steve Nash for you. He's an investor in that particular app, and I know D-Ruck uses it. I know that there's a few, or Derek Rucker. I know that there's a few guys that do use it. You do need, I think, an iPhone 8 and up and the latest sort of tablets for it to work for you. But it is free at the moment on the Apple Store, not available on Android. Gee, I should make some money out of advertising that for them. But but yeah, no, it's worth getting for those that are wanting, to look for something to do. We got 21 people still in the live stream on one of the streams, so I'm not sure if you've shared it. I see that you keep joining. We've got CJ Massingale. That was a baller for Siebel.
Played with him for not many games in Adelaide, but he was with us for a little bit.
Yeah, 10 game contract I think he had. So
very good.
Yeah, he can shoot the ball. I don't know. I think he's at Nudgee now, actually, where Will Magnay went to school. I think if he's still in it says he's joined. If he's still in there, he might be able to throw back a confirmation if he's actually at Nudgee coaching, because that's the last place I heard he was. He actually, when I was SBL coach for Caboolture, he ran shooting sessions for me on a Saturday, so that was not a bad guy. He put his hand up and he said, "Hey mate, can I do anything for you?" He's a former Wizard. Wizards pulled the pin on the QBL. and I shot off to Suns, and he messaged me one day and said, "Is there anything I can do?" And I said, "Sure, mate. You can take shooting sessions on a Saturday morning for me." So he did that a couple of times. So that was pretty cool for the athletes that went to those sessions.
If
So,
only they could naturally score the way he was in the Seagull, they would have been fine.
I actually played end of my playing days. I was pretty crap, to be quite honest. But I played in the last game. One of the last games I played in what they call Dunk League. I played. He was on the court and he did shoot well. But when I looked at the scoreline at the end, I didn't realise how many points he. You just lose track of how good a shooter he is. I didn't think he had that many points when the game was over. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
he's
wow.
pretty talented.
Yeah. So yeah, he's I think I don't know if he's still there, but yeah. So we've got a few, like I say, in the live stream. We had some questions on YouTube, but there's the. I'll have Joe on. I'll do a bit of a spiel for my shows, just so people are aware. This program, streaming with friends or live streaming with friends, is going to be something that I do every Thursday night. I reckon I'll get Big Joe now on next week. So he was going to be this week, but I'll get Big Joe on. He'll have, like you say, a few stories. He's been across a few clubs and a few experiences with basketball, and a former roommate of yours. So I guess we just made him a little bit jealous with the fact you got on.
Yeah, he would have regretted not doing it now.
Yeah, no, he'll do it. He probably just saw the message. He's a busy man, as you know. He's a pretty popular guy, so he's always one of the great guys of the NBL, and most genuine person you'll ever meet amongst a lot in the NBL that are like that. So what I was going to do is just check who else. So yeah, if people haven't checked out People with a Passion, that's my YouTube channel and podcast. So this is my live stream Thursday night, live streaming with friends, which I started last week. If you do want to check it out on YouTube, go and check it out. Also, you can listen to it on a podcast. So the audio from the YouTube channel is pulled on a podcast. This coming Sunday, I speak with a professional eater. I don't know if you've heard of professional eaters. I didn't even know they existed. But yeah, so it's a professional eater. He's actually a nutritionist and dietitian, but he does all the food challenges. He's done 829 food challenges at restaurants, and he's got get this over 1 million followers on Facebook, and up to 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So I was sort of like, okay, this guy's obviously passionate about eating, but
Professional eating, and he's not big.
He's an ex-football player, but he's healthy. He does exercise. He actually won the Spartacus Challenge in 2010, which was for a TV show, which a national competition, and which I'll show that on the interview on Sunday. But I didn't even know he's been to Australia. He travels the world. He's actually coming back start of next year, so hopefully we'll connect. But he's even eaten locally and eaten some of the kebab challenges and hamburger challenges. But I won't say what he's worth, but I will say that he is making a living out of it. So,
I could imagine if he's a professional and he's got that many followers, he must be doing all right. He must be eating well.
yeah, so he does all his blood glucose and everything gets monitored and everything like that, and he works out. He's just had what he calls his sexification workout for 12 weeks to work it all off. He was meant to go on tour, but anyway. So if people are interested in hearing about professional eating, which I didn't even know was a thing until I interviewed him, then he's up on Sunday on People with a Passion on YouTube. And we'll continue to do this. Hopefully Big Joe will jump on next Thursday night. So I will finish up with you, Jason, but I really appreciate your time and giving your time to your family, friends and fans, and my audience as well. And down the track, we might be able to do it again. I hopefully get to see you playing on the court in season 2020-2021. Don't know when and if the NBL 1 season for 2020 will ever be replayed. So they should just give you the championship, mate. That's
I said we're still the champs, so I guess they just got to give it to us again. And then the year after, whoever I play for and whatnot, maybe they can win it again. But we'll see what happens.
No worries, mate. So if anyone's still there watching, which there are a few, make sure you like the Facebook page, People with a Passion. Don't forget to follow Jason on his socials. Do you have any socials? Your Instagram and things like that?
Yeah,
and
it's all
Twitter?
just Jason Cadee 5, so pretty simple.
And you're wearing the JC shirts and things like that. So where are they? Where they can get a JC5 shirt from? Where are those available?
Just So me and my roommate in Sydney, I had two of my roommates, but one of them, we were best mates, and he was talking about shirts in Sydney, and I probably started a bit too late. I more wanted to do it, obviously brand and whatnot, but I just wanted to do it myself and see what it was like to have to create your own webpage and business side of things of making your own shirts and doing all that side of orders and things like that. And so we did it in Sydney, started in Sydney, and it just took off in Sydney. It was pretty cool to see the response. I just did it too late, and then I ended up moving to Brisbane, so I kind of left it. But anyway, I was playing around, and I had a few singlets mocked up, and all my mates were just talking about, when are you going to get them out? I want one, I want one. And so I said, oh, righto. And so I ended up doing another order of singlets, just perfect weather for it here. And so yeah, just at jasonkadee.com, there's still a bunch of little stuff there. I've run out a fair bit of shirts, but there's still a lot of kids stuff and things like that. But just something different. I just wanted to set it all up and see how it all worked, and I've quite enjoyed the whole side of it. And they're actually pretty comfy. So as much as it's my own logo, I actually just enjoy wearing them because they're so comfy.
Yeah, I know the tank top type shirts and things. I'll plug my Swish as well. I'm actually wearing one of the shirts here. Defend till the end. But the tank tops are pretty popular as a sale item along, obviously in our sport. So make sure you go and check out the JC5 brand online if you're a supporter of Jason Cadee. Every proceeds from the sale of every shirt goes to his family. Raising his son, mate. That's it.
My son's off the charts for everything, so it goes to right now to feeding him when he's not drinking milk from his mother.
All right. We've got a few in the live stream. What I'll do is I'll just take a couple more questions and we'll finish up. So I'm just going to read these before I actually read them out because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. So take 2 seconds. Look, I don't know whether this is a fanfare question, and the problem with fanfare, I don't know the backstory to this, so I'll ask the question. You can choose whether you know the answer to it, but it says, should Josh Wilshire be playing NBL? He tore the Caps apart for Townsville at the Boulevard of Broken Dreams Augufflower last QBL season. So, do you know the answer to that?
I've played against Wilch since under 14s. I think I remember him playing. I think he played for Sandringham. I think it was Sandringham back then. It might have been Nunawading. I don't remember, but he's been unreal since juniors. I haven't seen Wilch play in person. Until this year, and obviously we played him and he played very well against us. I think we played him in the stretch where we had no Magnay and we were missing a bunch of bigs and stuff like that. But Wilch is a good player. I think from what I do follow, he does very well over in England, and he's a very good player. Whether he should or should not be an NBL player, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Wilch over the years, but I take it he's doing very well for himself where he's playing, and I'm sure if the opportunity arises, a new team coming in, then if people have seen him play, then he'll get an opportunity hopefully. But I just know Wilch is a good dude, and he's always been a very, very talented player and manages to get the job done. So he's a good dude.
Yeah, so a shout out to Fanfare too. If people don't follow Fanfare, then make sure you go and check out their Facebook page as well, because it's pretty funny in the off season, even though, well, not an off season anymore, the no season. I'm pretty sure that we'll still be getting some banter from them because everyone looks forward to that every year. So if you've got any questions, we'll take a last call out for any questions for Jason ahead of him shooting off. And if you do have one, I'll give you a couple of seconds to come up with one, and I'll see if I can share it. I've got shoot, marry, or kill LeBron, Craig, and Manute Bol. So that's Javan Govender. Who wins a fight? Jason in an Epica, or Craig in a road train? So who wins a fight? I don't know what that one is. He lost me. He actually asked, this is a Chris 4.5K asked me a question last week with my guest. Who wins in a fight? My guest or me greased up in cooking oil? So obviously he has a sense of humour, and I appreciate him watching. He's on YouTube watching right now. So I don't see any other questions at this stage. So we might finish it up there. I do appreciate your time, JC5, and I hope that we'll catch up again down the track. I do obviously pop in, and my academies come in and watch you guys train, and I appreciate the Bullets and the fact that you guys open your house, your home, to academies and things like myself and others, and associations and clubs for us to come and watch you guys train. And I know a couple of my athletes are fans of yours, including young Ethan, who I've had sit next to me during a game and ask a million questions about some of the decisions you make. You're probably better to answer them than I am, but down the track I'll introduce you to him if I'm at a training, so you get to meet Ethan, who asks the questions, because he is a young baller who has a really great mind for the game. He's still working on his skills, and I think he's going to have a good future. At least that's the plan. We'll see what happens, but I'll introduce you to him one day. Ivan Grubb, who would be your movie star to play your role in your life's movie?
Jeez. That's a tough one. I don't know. I actually have no idea who could play my movie star. I actually do not know. I don't have any actors I completely love that I feel like could look like me somewhat, so I don't really know.
I was going to throw out there Nicolas Cage, but he's like he always plays a psycho role. I don't know about Nicolas these days.
We used to get Damien Cotter used to say that I used to look like I forgot his name now. Singer, rock star from back in the day. I've completely gone mind blank.
All right. Yeah, and I can't help you neither, because I don't know who you look like. You look like Jason Cadee to me. But we've got a few people here. I'll just do some shout outs and thank you for watching. So Cameron Goldfinch is in. I think I saw Frank in there too somewhere earlier. And also Ace Harding. So he was helping out early days with the Bullets, doing some video stuff. A shout out to Dave Burnett. You probably don't know these guys. I work with him out at North Lake State Secondary, which is actually a school of excellence in basketball now. So they teach basketball or more or less as a part of their signature program. They can get kids from outside the catchment. So that's at North Lakes. You guys might have been there. So yeah, North Lake State Secondary.
Yeah. I went out there recently.
Yeah,
cool. They're doing a good job with their program.
So I'm involved in that school, or was, until they sent me the message and said I can't be involved. So as is SBSB actually, Sean Sykes, I don't know if you know him, but Step by Step Basketball. So we're both involved in that school with I help with their athletes, help train their athletes in the morning. I'm in a couple of schools actually, and that's one of them. So g'day David, bit of a promotion for the school there. Who, if anyone's out of the area that's looking to go to a school where they focus on basketball, that's one. Tala, he actually come from New Zealand. He's joined. He played for me a short stint. Interesting story with Tala. I'll shout out to him, but he and I didn't work out as a coach-player relationship, and I actually said to him, look, this isn't working. Go to another club. This is when I was an SBL coach, and he said, do you know any clubs that have openings? And I said, well, Wizards, because a guy just blew out his knee, so I know they got availability. And I said, I'm probably handing you a grand final here, but go and play for that club. I think you'd do well there. But that was an example of where, sometimes as a coach and a player, you've got to make a decision. And it was amicable. And I said, if you get stuck and you don't find a place to play, I said, come back, but we've got to work some stuff out. So, but he's a great guy. I still stay connected with him, even though the player-coach relationship didn't work out as much as we'd liked. It was good to finish amicably, and we always have a good chat. And he got a grand final, so I wasn't lying there. We've got a few people. So that's Jonathan Mines. He's trained with you guys. So Sid Mines' son.
In Greece at the moment, I think. Still, maybe. I don't know if he's still there or not, but he was playing in Greece.
Yeah, actually, Jonathan, if you're listening, are you able to answer that question? Are you still playing in Greece, or are you back? You might have tried to get back because of the COVID situation.
I don't know if he tried to get out there or not. I know he was in Greece because he was playing near where I played when I went over there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if he was playing in Div 1 or Div 2. I think he might have been playing in Div 2, he told me, which is still a very strong league. But I don't know if he got out of there or not. Obviously, once it all shut down.
I played with his dad for a season, Sid, and Sid was running a basketball program at Runcorn State High School and come to me and asked me could I develop his program. So I helped him back in the 90s develop his program out at Runcorn. People probably don't know that, they just do now. So yeah, Sid's a good friend. I don't get to see him too much, but yeah, Sid, those that know him around and he's doing great work with his basketball program with Sid Mine Institute of Basketball. So and he's working with some underprivileged kids, so that's always good. So another good guy in the sport. Look, we'll finish up there because I could go all night. You can go all night, like you said, but at some point we're going to have to finish. But I do appreciate everyone that's tuned into the live stream tonight. Appreciate your time, Jason. We'll finish up there. This stream will stay up online. It'll get recorded. It'll be across all socials. So if you didn't get to watch it live, you can share it with friends or continue to comment. If we see comments or questions we haven't answered, then Jason, go through the comments and see if you can reply at the end of this live stream. And I'll do the same if there's anything that's relevant to me. I think most of it was directed at you. But we'll do it again next week. We'll try and get Big Joe. I don't think he'll miss the opportunity next week.
Take some time. He seems a bit busy at the moment, Joe.
Yeah, so. All right, man. I appreciate your time, mate, and we'll finish up there. I'll finish the live stream. So thanks for your time, mate, and hopefully see you on the court again soon.